Stan sits alone in his flat, surrounded by no one, just a mobile phone, but he never answers that. Because no one calls, it's a sad fact that he sits on his own, alone all day, surrounded by nothing but artifacts from a life gone before him. Can he remember that? In the dark days and the darker nights of his depression, sinking in his self-oppression, Samaritans a helpline, a friendly impression. On the lonely nights happening in succession, they help him through the crises happening almost daily, and crisis line numbers for each crisis line conundrum. It may as well be called a lifeline, for it keeps him sane after all the wine, for it keeps him safe through the darkest nights when everyone else is seemingly sleeping tight. As for his life, it's going on a path that he sees going to nowhere. What happened to Stan the man? He has no wife and no life plan, but spends his days long and bleak, looking at the walls covered in splatters all week, from punch marks and ragged blood stains from the days when he couldn't cope, the days of no hope. Like the day he received the message from his support worker in the community, let down by a government where the participants have immunity, from the cuts to services, cuts to lives and lifelines, no humility, that we're all human regardless. They're so sullen to hear this. I'm sorry, but your service has been cut, he says. Some lives, it seems, matter more than others, particularly the rich and not the paupers, and there's nothing I can do but say goodbye to you. I'm sorry, but I can signpost you somewhere else where maybe their funding might survive, and if not, they might be able to help you on the side. Stan sits in his flat, no support worker to call, no home to phone, and he sits alone with his mobile phone, no credit on it, no bee in his bonnet, just hopelessness, a despairing loss and cluelessness. The electricity is gone again, but he doesn't care, because the depression has him in his snare. What's the point in living this life on benefits he's judged without he's fucked? His support worker has gone by no fault of his own, and he's left with a letter saying he has to attend an interview in order to see suitability for work, because they think, despite the evidence, that he's better. But there's punch marks on the walls and blood splattered from them all, a blood-stained bed from his last attempt, a noose hanging low. This is his chance to go, because what has he got left with no support to see the light? There's no tunnel leading to anywhere but a dead-end pit of doom, gloom, gore, and nothing much more. What's the point? He's a leech to society, and the sock he needs to pull up are bare threads of what's left of him. So he stands up tall, takes his last breath in, and says goodbye to it all. Finally, at peace. No longer a figure on a list he never planned to be, no longer a leech to society, but more a modern-day tragedy in his unlit room, his final tomb of doom. Because this government doesn't understand that mental health is serious to withstand. It's a killer, and they're murderers of the average struggling man. Conservatives are costing lives, and it's time it changed. The stigma died. And enough of the lies, because too many people have died, and it's not fair to label them leeches on a dwindling system, because they're claiming sick benefits each fortnight that the system created for the poor and sick. The government needs to see the truth and stick with it. Make their lives more comfortable, because what we take for granted is an impossible mission for some, and all others have wanted is a task mundanely, mindlessly undertaken by one, because living with an illness every day, such as mental illness, has created a lost generation that spans all ages. Make the challenge of breathing almost impossible, and for all this meaning, there are people out there like Stan, who for this was their last breath, last hope, because he couldn't cope, and once upon a time, he'd been an average man, in need of some support and hope, stolen from him by a government of no hope.